Good morning, growers, and welcome to the Garden to Grow channel. My name is Pietro Isolan, and today I am going to talk to you about aphids. Aphids, unwanted companions of the late May, early June garden, which often attack the very tenderest and prettiest parts of our plants. Particularly right now, for example, I have an attack on fava beans that are now harvested, so they don't do all that much damage, but still they give us a chance to see them a little bit, to get to know them, and to go and figure out how to fight them. Speaking of getting to know them, first of all, let's say that they are insects that have a mouth parts. They are called sucking stingers, so they sting and suck the sap of our plants, and they have the characteristic of emitting sugary excrement called honeydew, which is a real gluttony for two kinds of living things, for molds and for ants. The molds that are favored by the sugary substance we just talked about, the honeydew, are the fumigants. In fact, you often see accompanying the aphids a blackish color that takes hold of our leaves. That's the fumagin. Ants, on the other hand, live a special symbiotic condition with aphids because they are greedy precisely for the honeydew. Think a little bit that they wander around the aphids precisely sucking this particular substance, and even transport the aphids from one plant to another so that they reproduce faster and faster so that they can have the largest possible harvest. We can say that they somehow breed them. Therefore, let's try to see what systems we can put in place, it really has to be said, to combat aphids. The first thing, especially if we are at the beginning of the attack, is manual removal, either directly by taking them off the leaves or even by accimating our plants in case we are not causing any damage to production. Another system in direct is using mint macerates to ward off ants that are particularly sensitive to this type of substance. Then, let's move on to substances that fight them directly, that is, insecticidal substances that are more or less precisely mild, such as, for example, NIMH oil, which is extremely effective, or even Marseille soap, which we are going to see today because I have it here. And one of the preparations that I will introduce you to is just that with soap, or even we can use pyrethrum. But be careful, because it is an insecticide extracted from a flower, precisely the pyrethrum that, however, is not selective, so you have to be careful and give it only at the point where we have the attack taken care, not to treat flowers that could then come into contact with pollinators that consequently would be killed by the pyrethrum itself. So beware pyrethrum, we generally consider it as a last resort. Other substances that are perfectly natural and quite effective against aphids are rock powder, such as Cuban zeolite, for example, or such as kaolin, that have a direct effect on these insects. Finally, we come to the world of decoctions and macerates, so it's a matter of extracting from vegetables, therefore from plants, substances that go to have a repellent or insecticidal effect. And here the list gets really vast and interesting, because we have the macerates of nettle, rhubarb, garlic, fern, tomato, chili pepper. You hear a little bit, really a lot of things that have an effect. Alternatively, and that's another thing that we're going to do today here, I have a nice basket of garlic. We can make a decoction that has the characteristic of having a faster preparation because it's boiling the garlic in water for about 15-20 minutes. So now we're going to make it directly, and we're going to mix it with water and Marseille soap. As we make these preparations, I'm going to tell you doses, ways, and so on. And then we're going to go into the garden and get to know the aphids and bother them a little bit with these products. Here is the work table I have prepared for you today. As you see, I have scales, garlic Marseille, soap sprayer, 2 containers, a knife, and a glass. Let's go and see how to act. In the meantime, we tare our scale, so we set it to 0 by calculating the tare of this little bowl. I actually weighed the garlic first, so let's see that we are about 50 grams. As you can observe, these cloves are nearly wasted because they have slightly deteriorated over time. They are from last year, but we can still salvage them by lightly crushing them using a glass as a makeshift mortar. Unfortunately, I don't have a suitable mortar at home, but if you do, I recommend using it. Otherwise, you can simply place the garlic cloves on a cutting board, crush them well, and return them here. Alternatively, you may chop them as per your convenience. The purpose of this step is to ensure that we extract as much of the active ingredient as possible during the boiling process, which typically takes around 15 to 20 minutes. Since the intended use of it doesn't require me to completely remove the peel, I hesitate to do so. Besides, the peel gives off a pleasant smell, so why not keep it during the brewing process? You will surely encounter different opinions on this matter. Of thought, I prefer to do it this way. I came to the vegetable garden to film a video, and I stumbled upon a fierce battle raging amongst the aphids and the enemy ladybugs. Revered as the tigers of the lawns, these ladybugs were delighting themselves in a lavish buffet of a feast. To my surprise, there were countless ladybugs devouring the aphids attacking the fava beans. And as usual, the ants were diligently tending to the aphids, fueled by their insatiable greed for the aphids' honeydew. The scene before my eyes was truly breathtakingly beautiful, showcasing these ladybugs savoring their meal. It's worth noting that I had not intentionally introduced these ladybugs. Rather, they had come on their own accord, seemingly attracted by the diverse range of species in this vibrant ecosystem and enticed by the bounteous feast that the aphids provided. There are currently 2 here that are reproducing, so indeed it is really happening. Around here, in addition to the feast of ladybugs, we also pay close attention to the ants that diligently collect honeydew and skillfully tend to their aphid flocks. It's truly amazing to witness their incredible expertise in action. Let's take a closer look at the aphids also. As you see, they show up as a blackish group in the case of leguminous plants, because then they also have other colors depending on the plant. We have the type of aphid that attacks that species, and as you see, they are very small and they show up as black dots. This is one of the generations. They come out with wings from time to time, and as you see, they can cover the whole surface of the stem or the leaves. And as you see here, the leaves, when they are very attached, they curl up, they get sucked Once we have acquainted ourselves with our friends, the aphids, ladybugs, and ants, we shall return to our country's workshop. There we will continue our work. As long as we were making our field visit. The brew has been cooked accurately for 15 minutes, after which we simmered for 20 minutes. Afterward, we strain it to prevent any solid particles from obstructing the sprayer's nozzle. Here we have our garlic and the decoction. The recommended proportion for making the decoction is 1 liter of water to 50 grams of garlic. Next, we need to weigh approximately 20 grams of Marseille soap flakes, but ensure that the soap we use does not contain any chemicals, perfumes, or other additives. Making it into flakes will result in easier dissolution in water. Dissolving it in warm or high temperature water will substantially facilitate the process compared to colder water. To ensure complete dissolution, stir the combined mixture of macerated garlic and soap thoroughly until there are no visible soap particles. At this point, we can pour it into the sprayer. Taking care, of course, to let our decoction cool down, otherwise we are going to boil the plants, which is not desirable. Well, the product has cooled down enough. Let's go to give it on the plant. As you can see, the ants are already running away in a hurry. The aphids may also be repelled by the soap treatment as it forms a coating on their bodies that inhibits their breathing. This action serves as a natural insecticide against the aphids. However, not all plants are under attack, so I choose not to apply the soap where ladybugs are present. These beneficial insects are already feasting on the mature fava beans, and I don't want to disturb them with the application of products that may be irritating. I prefer to let the ladybugs stay and trust that they will continue to protect my plants from future aphid infestations. Well, let me provide a brief summary of what we have discussed so far. We have acknowledged that aphids are insects that cause additional problems besides extracting the sap from the young shoots of our plants. We have mentioned that we can defend against them by using natural insecticidal products, particularly maceratis, which work effectively as a preventative measure. We have also observed that maceratis can be used during an ongoing aphid attack, but it is even more beneficial to treat our garden periodically with maceratis. In addition, have you discovered that by creating biodiversity in the surrounding environment, we can attract beneficial insects that are antagonistic to aphids, such as ladybugs? Ladybugs are even available to purchase either as larvae or adult insects, and they can be released in the vegetable garden. However, it is important to ensure that we provide suitable conditions for them to stay because, as we all know, ladybugs have wings and will naturally go where they can find food. If we have a greenhouse, it becomes easier for them to remain there, or alternatively, we can plant species that ladybugs prefer to encourage their presence. We have also mentioned that we devised a garlic decoction and combined it with diluted Marseille soap to create an effective product for defending against aphids. It is worth noting that combining soap with other substances helps to prolong its presence on the plant, so mixing it with other ingredients typically produces better results. Finally, from the garden, that's all for today. If you have any doubts or questions, please feel free to write them in the comment section below. Until next time, happy growing to all.